Oh, I haven't even started yet. Okay, I just pushed the start button for this video, and basically I wanted to talk about two things on my Locals channel. The first is that as an introduction to the second part of igneous rock classifications that I do on the course Geology for Engineers and whomever else may be interested. And there I showed you a little goofy experiment just for entertainment, right? So don't take it too serious. But what I did is I had a soda stream machine where you inject CO2 in your kitchen into water, and then you get fizzy water. It's sparkling water. And I use sparkling water as my voice lubrication instrument. Okay, so I have two of these bottles, one with filled with water at room temperature, so it comes straight out of the tap, and it's about 20 degrees, and the other filled with water from my fridge, which is 3 or 4 degrees Celsius and much cooler or colder. And then I injected the CO2 in both of them, and lo and behold, the colder water held more CO2 and it was a lot fizzier than the room temperature water, and that goes to solubility of CO2. Now, this was a very ad lib experiment, and don't consider it true scientific evidence. But it is a fun experiment, and if you don't take it too serious, it's a lot of fun. Santé. Now, second part of this video is about how a geologist can describe a rock, or observe a rock, I should say. Because we're not doing anything in terms of description, I'm just showing you how you can look at that rock. So this is a piece of rock, and with your bare eyes, you cannot see a lot, right? The outside of the rock is heavily weathered, and I broke this piece off using my geological hammer, and then inside you see a fresh piece of rock, a fresh cross section of the rock. Can you see anything? Maybe you see a little bit of texture and of course the gray color. Right? So I need a lens to look more precisely. This is a lens I bought at Shoppers Drug Mart. The outside here, that is magnifying 2 times. I don't know whether you can see that. And you can try to get a distance between the rock and the lens enough precise to see a focused image. The other thing is there is here a 10 times lens. That is the standard magnification for a field lens when you're out in the field and you're trying to look at the rock. But really, you don't see a lot. Maybe you can recognize something the size of crystals or the size of grains, whatever makes up the rock. Yeah, you can see that. But that's about it. So when you want to really know what the rock is made of, sand, quartz, or say a carbonate like limestone or a dolomite, forget about it. You can do a chemical experiment like taking a bottle with diluted acid, say hydrochloric acid with 9 parts of water on top of it, right, mixed. And then you spritz it on the rock, and if it is a carbonate, limestone or a dolomite, the water starts to fizz, right? Just like in my fizzy water experiment. Only don't drink it. It's acid, right? And it's still strong enough to hurt you. So don't drink it. But that way you can make an estimate as to whether you're dealing with a limestone or a dolomite or a sandstone, right? Well, if it doesn't fit, it's either a dolomite or it is a sandstone. So how do you get closer to describing this rock? Well, you need a microscope. And there are two types of microscopes. There is an incident light, where the light beam shines on the rock, and then you look through a lens above it, and light reflects. It's an incident light microscope, right? And you can see under normal light what it looks like, and then you can magnify. My cuttings or incident light microscope magnifies typically 50 times, which is quite a bit, right? You can start seeing the grains that make up this rock or the crystals that make up this rock. But now that we're working in unconventional reservoirs quite often, the grain size is often less than 60 microns, which we call silt sized. Right? And even at 50 times magnification, you cannot see a lot. So my incident light microscope has been upgraded so I can look 120 times. And then I can see things better, but still not very good. And certainly not good enough to flawlessly say what it is made of, what the mineralogy is of the rock I'm looking at. Probably it's good enough to say from, well, I'm dealing with a sandstone or a carbonate, but that's about it. So what do you do next? Well, you slice with a saw a thin piece, a thin layer here off the rock, and then you polish it so much and you grind it down so much that it is maybe 30 microns or so in thickness. At that point in time, your sand layer or your rock layer is so thin you can see through it, and often out of fun you can say, okay, I have to be able to read through this rock a newspaper. You still know what a newspaper is? Okay, then you can shine or transmit light through that very thin piece of rock, which we call a thin section. And we call the light transmitted light microscope. And if you put a polarizing lens on it, then you can create polarized light. Or you can use two polarizing directions perpendicular on each other, and then you can see what we call birefringent colors. The color spectrum of light comes out. And then based on the color, you can see what type of a rock you're dealing with. So I'm going to show you in the offices of Eucalyptus a little bit as to how we do that. And that's what the remainder of this video is about. And I'm going to make it 2 parts because I'm already at 8 minutes of bullshitting you.